once again to Bon Appetit at DSC. I'm Kim Carell, and with me is our illustrious host and chef extraordinaire, Nick Cardy. Hi, Nick.
Hey, Kim.
So glad you're back with us again.
Pleasure.
Love doing welcome this. To my kitchen.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have quite a few things to make for these folks today.
We do.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, we have a 3-course French meal. We're going to start with a typical French starter, an avocado vinaigrette, and then we're going to have main course. We're going to have some thyme chicken breast, thyme and lemon chicken breast, and I'm so glad that this thyme is coming straight from your garden.
Yes, it is.
We're then going to have a French apple tart, country-style apple tart. Once again, so glad that we get to eat your baking skills.
Oh, I'm so happy you're letting me bake the tart today.
Thank you, and
I hope I live up to your expectations.
You always do, and so I think this is going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah,
and we're looking forward to it.
All right. Well, I think that we should get started actually with the tart first, if you don't mind, because that way it'll give it time to bake.
Okay.
All right. So we'll get to the ingredients in just a second. Nick, let's go over what we're going to use for this French apple tart.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
So we are going to be making our own crust today. Now you can use a prepared crust if that's easier for you, but it's really not hard to make a homemade crust. So we're going to do that today.
Nice.
So to make the homemade crust, which is also called a pâte brisée, did I say that correctly?
Nice French. Nice French pronunciation.
This is just a classic pâte brisée homemade crust. And so you're going to need 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You're also going to need 2 sticks of butter, unsalted butter that is chilled. You need about 1/4 cup of some chilled ice water, all right? And also we're going to be putting in a teaspoon of salt into the pie crust. For the apple mixture itself, put in the pie, obviously the filling, I have cored and peeled and sliced about 5 lady pink apples.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And I'm also going to be using just 1/3 cup of sugar, so not a lot, with a couple of teaspoons of cornstarch to give it a little thickness to
yes.
And then I'm going to brush it with a little bit of an egg wash to give a nice golden crust for that.
Nice.
Okay, so we're going to start by making the pie crust. So I'm going to actually have to take my food processor. See, use your food processor, so easy. Over to the other side of the kitchen, and we're going to mix in the flour, the butter, the salt, and the ice water to pull it all together.
Oh,
all right.
Okay. Look forward to seeing you do that.
Yeah. Dough has come together, and you can see, if I can get it out here, be careful with the blade if you're using a food processor. It has come together nicely. We're just gonna put it out here on our counter. Now, just for the the folks at home to know what we did, I put the flour with the 2 sticks of cold butter cubed, a little bit of salt, teaspoon of salt, poured that together till it has sort of like a grainy, like sand possibly, like little pebbles are in there of the butter.
That's the texture.
Yes, and then I put in the ice cold water, about 1/4 cup, and that's going to bring it together to form the dough. You don't want to over mix it though. And if you don't have a food processor, you can simply use a pastry blender and do it all by hand. So we have our dough here, and what I'm going to do is just sprinkle a little bit of flour here out on my board, and a little bit on my rolling pin. Just remind you of sitting with your mom or your grandma. Yeah. So we don't want to overdo it, and I'm going to use that on this one in just a second. But before we start to roll, we need to chill it again because we want that butter to stay cold. So basically, I'm just forming it into a little disc here, and I'm going to wrap it in some saran wrap. And you're going to want to chill that in the refrigerator for at least an hour, maybe 2.
Oh, wow.
And you could even overnight, it would be fine as well. And just get that butter nice and cold again. And let me put that in the fridge. And luckily, I have one already made that I made yesterday. So that particular recipe will make 2 pie crusts. So if you were making a pie that had a top crust and a bottom crust, this would be perfect for that. But we're only needing the 1 crust today.
Yeah, two tarts
Yes.
from the 1 preparation. Nice.
So this one has been chilled. Now I'm going to start to roll this one out. Make sure we've got enough there. And you don't have to be exact on this because the crust itself is not going to be perfect, you know. And
But flour on 2 surfaces then.
I do.
Yeah.
And it's a little harder because I just took it out of the refrigerator. But you don't want to overwork the dough. You just kind of want to go with it and roll it out. And I just kind of keep turning it until I can get my circle.
Really good, consistent. Really good,
And you can still see the chunks of butter in the crust, which is going to be great when it gets in that hot oven. Yeah.
Do you have a particular flour that you like? I mean, does it?
Just an all-purpose flour.
Okay.
You know, some people prefer unbleached. Some people don't care. It's a personal choice.
I can't believe how even that is. Even as you do all that work, it's even on every side, and
And it may get a little jagged on the ends because I'm trying to get it pretty thin so it will stretch out in our pie tart. What kind of apples do you like to use in your French tart?
well, the ones you mentioned I've used before. The pink ladies I really like, and I've seen that often people are using not a golden delicious apple, you know, which is more of an eating apple, but a tartar apple like a Granny Smith. But I've used galas before.
And that's another point. If you just don't want to add a lot of sugar, we're only using 1/3 cup in this recipe, but you could use a sweeter apple and get your natural sugar from there.
Oh, right, you could. Yeah, you could cut back on the sugar with a little sweeter apple.
Getting there, Nick.
Yeah, no, but I'm amazed. It's
It's a good workout.
Yeah, it's a good workout. the thickness is so consistent. You know, edge, middle, edge. That's great.
And I would just kind of like to start and push out. I think we're getting to the size that we need.
Well,
and you can see it's not perfect, but it's okay.
Yeah, this is not my forte. I'm glad you're doing this part.
So I thought we would use a pretty tart pan today. Of course, you could use a typical, you know, glass pie pan. It's really up to you in the finished product. Now, little secrets, like how do you get this off of the board, right? So you use your rolling pin and kind of get it up on the pin. Here we go.
All right.
And that way you can transport it over
You know,
to
I see all my failures. I see now why all my failures were failures.
Believe me, it took a lot of watching cooking shows and things like that to get that. So I'm just going to gently place this into my tart pan, and we're going to worry about that excess in just a minute. Okay? So now we're ready to start layering our apples.
It's a pretty
So
first
I'm just going to set that aside for just a second.
All right.
Now, I have done some of the work already. Like I said, I had about 5 Pink Lady apples, and I went ahead and I cored them, took the core out of the center. I've got a little handy dandy apple corer, and then peeled them. And then we're going to slice them into these pretty little wedges.
That's
okay.
very typically French.
So I saved one to kind of show you. And again, you don't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be perfect. Let me move this out of your way. So I just kind of slice the apple down the middle, and you can see that the core has been taken out. Some people will slice this way to get the little half moon, and you can do that as well. I don't particularly care for that, so I just simply turn it back over and slice it and just eyeball it. And I'm basically just doing, you can do I would say try to be as thin as you can, just because when it cooks, you want it to cook through.
Sure.
And also, it's easier to eat that way as well.
Looks like you've got about a 1/4 inch going on there.
Less than that.
Even
yeah.
less, okay.
Oh yeah. And then, if there's any of the core left on the apple, you can just simply take your knife and slice down the middle that way. So you're going to get some nice pretty little wedges. Pick out your prettiest ones, make them prettier, because we kind of want it to match as best we can.
I appreciate how as the apple kind of changes its shape, your knife kind of goes with that same shape.
And just, watch your fingers. I'm prone to cutting myself many times. See, that one's got a little bit on the end, so I'm going to take that off. So I think you've got the idea here. So I think we have enough apples for this tart. So I'm going to go ahead and put this aside. You can eat on those later. And now we're going to start filling. And this is just basically laying your apples in a little circle, and you just kind of want them to overlap each other. You see what we're doing here?
Slightly overlap,
And if all your apples are the same size, it'll be easier for your slices to match up. But again, it does not matter.
Sure.
And if you don't want to go to all this trouble, you can just chop the apples up. I mean, it's really okay.
Yeah.
And not have these little slices. But I'm not the best pastry chef, so I'm sure somebody else could do this a lot prettier.
Well, I bet the presentation, when we see the finished product, we're going to appreciate exactly what you're doing
Oh,
there.
I hope so. But again, I want to get them all nice and lined up. So we're just going to keep doing this.
Okay, so you're sort of making a circle as the container itself is a circle. Okay.
Okay. Okay, Nick, we have one layer done.
Beautiful.
And I think we want this to be very big and, boisterous.
Sure.
So we're going to add another layer on top. But before we do that, we need to layer this this section with some sugar.
Okay.
All right, so I have my 3rd cup of sugar, and I have 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. So I'm just going to kind of mix those together.
Right.
It'll all be together.
I see.
And then I'm just going to sprinkle half of this over this layer.
So one per layer then. Wow.
Just about half of it.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that it's all incorporated
Sure.
and fairly distributed.
Wow. Looks good enough to eat right now.
It's going to be even better once it cooks. All right, so let's add another layer of apples the same way. And again, mine's not perfect. Those of you who are better bakers out there may have a prettier way to do this, but I'm just going to start layering again right on top. And I may start in the middle this time. Let's try that. And then we'll see where we go. Okay, Nick, I think this is enough apples. What do you think?
I think it's great. You're building a pretty tart there.
All right, it's not perfect, but I think it'll still taste good. So on the first layer, we put the half of the sugar mixture. So I'm going to take the rest of it and sprinkle here on this layer, so they can get the benefits of all that good sweetness too.
And what you've mixed this cornstarch in there. What's the effect there?
It's going to thicken. You know how apple pie has a little rich, thick texture to it in the filling, and that's what the cornstarch is going to give us, because it's going to mix with the juice from the apples
as it cooks.
Yeah, you don't need to add any water to it. And
Nice.
I think, and I'm like I said, it's a 3rd cup of sugar. We're trying to be a little healthier here. Of course, again, if you would want to add a little bit more sugar, maybe another 1/4 cup,
Half a cup
if you really wanted it super sweet. And you can add cinnamon, you could add walnuts, anything else that you want to, but we're kind of going for the basic French tart that you want.
That's very French, fresh ingredients, simply prepared.
Okay.
And there you go.
So now here's the fun part. We are going to simply take the crust and just bring it up just around the edge. We're going to leave a pretty picture in the center here, correct?
Yeah.
So you just take your pretty crust and just kind of wrap it up, and you can kind of fold it as you're going like that.
Yeah.
And that'll just kind of give it a little bit of texture. And if you've got extra over here, you can just chop that off or tear it even if you just don't want to be totally perfect.
Just get rid of what you
It
don't
doesn't
need.
have to be extremely, too perfect. Kind of takes away the rustic nature of
that's great.
the tart.
Wow. I can't wait for the end of the meal.
There you go. See, now you've got it all wrapped up in a nice little package. And to finish it off, I like to do a little egg wash. So it's just an egg that I've beaten with a little bit of water in it.
Okay, the whole egg.
The whole egg. Some prefer a white egg white, that's fine, but I like to use the yolk too.
Okay.
Just one egg, and you're just going to take a little brush and don't put it in the pie. Just make sure that you're staying on the crust. And it's going to give you a nice, beautiful brown, golden brown.
And that's just a little pastry brush? Is that what you call that? Or, all right, I see.
And then just slightly over there. If you wanted to add a little more sugar, you could sprinkle some sugar on the crust, and it will stick with the egg wash.
Wow, this is going to be a treat.
Now we're ready to put it in the oven. Now we'll tell you a little secret. The oven has been preheated to 375. So we're going to put it in there, and I'm going to watch it for about 25 minutes. And if my crust is beginning to brown pretty quickly, I'm going to take some aluminum foil and simply lay it across the top so that the crust doesn't get burnt.
Okay.
All right, so more than likely you're going to have to do that, but keep your eye on it. But we're going to put it in just as it is now into the oven.
Nice.
Okay. Nick, we've switched places.
We have, yes. I'm happy to be here.
So what are we making now?
Well, we're getting the chicken ready.
Okay.
So we're gonna make this delicious with the thyme that we picked from your garden.
Yes.
This English thyme.
Okay.
And the zest of a lemon and the juice of that lemon.
And when we did all that prepped ahead, so
correct.
They'll see in the video where we peeled the leaves off of the thyme, and then you chopped it to release the flavors.
Right. Yes, we sort of gotten that all ready, and then the proportions that we need.
Right.
But what happens with all this is that we combine all this, and the chicken then is going to be in a marinade made of those ingredients. It's going to marinate for 2 hours. Then we're going to cook it, and it's just going to be tender and delicious.
Okay. So Nick, we had to stop because the pie was ready to have the foil put on it because we don't want to burn our lovely crust.
That's important.
All right, let's back to the chicken now.
Okay.
All right, so what are we doing with the chicken breast?
So what we're going to do is we're going to actually make 4 servings from 2 chicken breasts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to half them.
Okay.
We're going to half them long ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to finish preparing them by just very lightly pounding them with a mallet.
Okay.
And that'll go a lot easier for you if you put a piece of cellophane under the chicken breasts, piece of cellophane on top of them, and then just lightly pound. The mallet I like to use the side of it, and just lightly pound these to flatten them and tenderize them just a little bit.
Okay. Well, those look really good, Nick.
They're ready.
Yes. So now we make the vinaigrette?
We make the marinade.
The marinade, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Okay.
We're sure going to make that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to actually build this marinade. I'm just going to put the ingredients that we have, our wonderful English thyme in here.
And you just have just a reusable plastic bag?
Yeah, that works well. You could do this in a bowl as well. You can cover it. But this works really well too. So because it's it's nice
sealable,
and
yeah.
sealable, airtight. So that crushed garlic, we have crushed garlic in there, and this is going to provide really nice garlic flavor. But we're not going to actually use this when we saute the chicken. But you'll have that garlic flavor in there.
Good. All right.
So we're just going to continue to build this.
Salt.
Our salt, our pepper, and this wonderful lemon zest and the juice of 1 lemon. Yeah.
And olive oil?
Yes, we're going to add olive oil now. Really liquefy this. We sure are. And now we're going to add our chicken. These 4 chicken breasts.
And about how long are you going to need to leave it in the refrigerator?
2 hours.
Okay.
2 hours would be really good. And the finished product,
So you would want to leave it overnight?
No, I think the lemon, it works to tenderize the chicken, but it also, if left too long, kind of goes in the other direction.
Okay, so you just kind of slush it around here.
Yeah, we're just trying to eyeball it and try to imagine that there's as much as we can get an even coating of all these wonderful ingredients.
Oh, I'll be so happy in that bag.
Yeah, I can already smell this, this wonderful lemon flavor, and garlic is just perfect, Garlic makes everything so much better. So we're ready now, I think, just to transfer these to the fridge.
Okay.
And we can move on to our next step.
All right, wonderful. So Nick, we've moved on.
We have.
Is this our first course?
This is our first course.
Okay, so what are we making?
We're making avocado vinaigrette. I guarantee you, all over France today, somebody's starting lunch or dinner with this course.
Really?
Yes.
I've not had this, so this will be a new thing for me.
I think you'll really like it.
Good. I love avocados.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we don't often eat avocados this way, but this is a very typical French thing to do.
Okay, wonderful. So what do we need for this vinaigrette?
Well, you need a ripe avocado, and what we're going to do is we're going to half this avocado right now. We're just going to cut around the seed.
Uh-huh.
And The trick is,
There you go.
you see
Perfect.
that? And the trick is to remove that seed. So if you have the right avocado, you can just put your chopping knife right on there and it'll lift right out.
Yes.
Isn't that nice?
I love that.
Yeah. And then we're going to make the vinaigrette dressing. So simple. Really, it's a 3-part process of main ingredients where we're going to add a portion of Dijon mustard.
Just a little smidge, looks like. About
That's
a fourth
right.
of a teaspoon?
About 1/4 of a teaspoon. And then we're going to add about double that of red wine vinegar.
Okay.
Just to liquefy the mustard a little bit. So we're going to stir at that point. And before we add our third ingredient, the extra virgin olive oil, and I really like this California olive oil, olive ranch. Before we add that, let's make use of some of these herbs, you know?
Yes.
Let's make use of another version of your thyme. I saw that you had some lemon thyme out there, so we're going to add just a pinch of lemon thyme.
Okay.
Then we're going to add just a pinch of chopped parsley. We're using flat leaf parsley, could use curly parsley.
Doesn't matter.
Let's add just a pinch of salt and pepper.
Okay.
Here's some nice ground pepper.
We're just eyeballing this.
Yeah, we're just eyeballing this. A pinch is kind of the watchword there. And now here's the tricky part. What we're going to do is we're going to add now 4 parts of olive oil. But as we do, we stir constantly.
All right.
Or else
You're
that...
emulsifying it, trying to make it.
Yes.
blend?
Yeah, the Dijon mustard serves as the emulsifier. And so if we added all this olive oil at the same time, it would just separate. It would never be good. But you're going to see that if we stir constantly and add little by little, we do this sometimes in my French class, and I say, the key is to add peu à peu, little by little. And sometimes people get a little heavy-handed.
Right.
So we're adding little by little, and you can see.
Patience is the key word.
Yeah, look
right?
at that. You
yeah,
can see how
is.
that's coming together.
It is.
And so what do we do with this sauce? Well, why do we call it avocado vinaigrette? Because this vinaigrette dressing is going right in the middle, right into that recessed area of the avocado, and we're going to eat it at the table with a little teaspoon.
Now, do you take the meat out of the avocado, or you just serve it in the skin?
No. The skin is the container, and we'll show you this in just 2 seconds.
All right.
That we eat it right out of there with a little teaspoon,
Okay.
a little piece of French bread, and with these fine herbs, and we'll We'll add, we can add a little extra parsley just on top to make it nice and pretty. But now we've got a pretty good vinaigrette going on there, so I'm going to go ahead and add this to my avocado. So the avocado is the little container there.
Yeah.
And there you go.
All
Let's
right.
just add a little more parsley to that. And imagine this on the dish that we'll have at the table, a little piece of French bread, and there you go.
Yummy. So Nick, we're in the home stretch.
Yes.
All right, what are we making now?
So we're making the side dish to go with these chicken breasts.
Okay, so the couscous.
We're making vegetable couscous, we sure are.
Couscous. Okay.
Yeah, we're enhancing basic couscous, just plain couscous, with some sauteed vegetables.
All right.
Now this couscous, you can imagine that this is part of our French meal too, because North African cuisine, those countries were part of France until they had their own independence. But couscous, this Mediterranean couscous, is often eaten in France, usually in Algerian or Moroccan restaurants, but we can use it as a side.
Okay. So we've got our water boiling. I think we might want to go ahead and add the couscous because the water's boiling.
Oh,
now.
good. Okay.
And then we'll come back to the veggies.
That's perfect because while the couscous cooks for 5 minutes, we prepare the vegetables, then we add it to the couscous.
And how much couscous are you going to put in the pot?
We're going to put 2/3 of a cup of couscous into a portion of 1 cup of water.
1 cup of water,
Yeah.
and I think you add a little olive oil in there.
Little
too.
olive oil, about a tablespoon of olive oil.
All right. So let's just go ahead. I think it's measured for you over there. So you want to go ahead and put it in the pot?
Nice, very nice. Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, that's coming to a nice boil. So we're at the stage now where we can make our couscous, and I'm just going to turn this boiling water off and remove it from the fire. I'm going to add the couscous grain, this semolina grain, to our boiling water and just give it a couple of stirs. That's great. And then I'm just going to cover it, let it stand for 5 minutes, and we'll have prepared couscous. So in the meantime, I'm going to saute those vegetables, and we'll add that to the cooked couscous later. So while this couscous is cooking, we're going to add the vegetables and saute them that we're later going to add to the couscous, and so we'll have vegetable couscous. So this is a matter of adding a small onion, or half of a regular size onion, into this tablespoon of olive oil. And then we're going to add half of a small zucchini, which we've chopped into about 1/4 inch bits. And we're going to let that saute for a bit. Actually, I'm going to increase the fire just a little. Now, when this cooks for another minute or so, we're going to come back and finish the saute by adding our tomatoes and our garlic.
So Nick, I'm here to help you.
Good.
All right, so the couscous has cooked.
It has, yeah.
All right, so what, you want me to take this and what?
Yeah, if you would please, that cooked couscous, let's put it in the white bowl there.
Okay.
Because we're going to mix our vegetables with that.
Yay.
Or I should say, you're going to mix our vegetables with that. Because
Okay.
I've sauteed these vegetables, you know.
And this didn't take long at all.
No, not at all. Just saute these vegetables, you know, I added the tomatoes and the garlic after I had cooked down a little bit the zucchini and the onion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we just want to.
We want to add
in
that.
there.
Add that and stir, just to mix.
All right. This smells so
Doesn't
good.
that smell good? Can't go wrong with a little sauteed garlic.
You cannot. And onions as well. You can put that on the stove for me.
Thank you. And you know what? Now what we want to do, when you mix that, the last little step here,
Okay, what do you have there?
we have a little slivered Kalamata olive. We have
Okay.
3 of those olives, and that's going to give it a really nice, robust flavor.
All right, so just put these in there as well?
Just put those in and mix a little bit, and there's our vegetable couscous side that we're going to serve with these chicken breasts.
Yummy. All right, so the last thing we're going to do next is we're going to actually cook the chicken breasts because they've
Yeah.
been marinating.
That's right. We're going to take them out of the refrigerator. They've been marinated for 2 hours.
All right.
We're going to saute them in a little olive oil because we cut those chicken breasts in half. They're only needing to cook about 3 minutes on each side.
All right. This
And it'll
looks
be
good.
delicious.
All right.
So happy now to prepare the main course for us, this thyme lemon chicken. So I'm just going to take it from the bag where it's been marinated, and we're going to add that to our saute pan. Nice stainless steel saute pan, and going to cook these about 3 minutes on each side. So there's chicken breast number 2 of 4. This is, you've gotten all those wonderful flavors going on from those fresh ingredients. The crushed garlic is staying in the bag, but it has infused with the chicken breast too. So we're going to cook these now that they're in the pan. We're going to cook these for 3 minutes on each side, as I said, and then we're going to make a little white wine sauce.
Nick, we're in the home stretch.
Good.
That chicken looks so delicious.
Smells a little like thyme in here.
One. So you're gonna what? Put it on a plate to rest?
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna.
All right.
We need this saute pan to make our white wine sauce.
Okay. Ooh, yum.
So let me remove this chicken and
All right.
hand you this plate.
Okay. I'll put some foil over it.
Yeah, put a little foil over it to keep it nice and warm. And I'm going to start making this sauce, Kim, may I?
Yes. Go ahead. So what
Okay,
do you
so
got?
you've chopped for me a bit of
A shallot.
a shallot, yeah,
Half a shallot.
about half a shallot. So I'm going to add this to the pan drippings. Now I'm not going to cook it for very long because it may look like an onion, but it cooks so much quicker than an onion. And let's just cook it for about 30 seconds.
Okay.
Let's just let it saute for about 30 seconds. Have you smelled that already?
And all those good bits are gonna come up.
Yeah, they're starting to come up now, but they're really going to come up when we go to the next to last phase of making this sauce. And that is adding a little white wine to this. Now,
We'll glaze the pan.
that's right, we're gonna deglaze the pan right now.
All right.
So I'm gonna add half a cup of this nice Touraine. This is a Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire Valley, a little sub-region, the Touraine, and it's gonna be wonderful with this dish. So
All right.
watch me add the whole shebang. You hear that sizzle? And so now, let's try to release some of these brown bits and the partially cooked shallot.
Oh, it's coming right up.
Come on. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to cook this until what you see reduces by half.
Okay.
And when this reduces by half, which won't be too long, I'm going to come back and add just a little bit of butter.
A little bit of butter,
Just
okay.
a bit of butter.
Just a bit of butter, okay.
And that's going to be that.
All right, and then once we're done, we're going to put that over our chicken.
Yeah, we're going to do that over the chicken, and we're going to do a little bit over the couscous, and voila.
All right, we'll plate up because we do have a special guest coming. One of our colleagues is going to be here.
It's not just us eating
Not
this.
just us today. No, we have to share your wonderful food with somebody else.
Good news is we have enough.
That's right. That's right. So he'll be here in just a minute. So we'll go ahead and finish.
Okay.
Get the plates all ready to go.
Okay.
And I'll see you at the table.
It's a he. I'm ready to be surprised.
Well, Nick, our special guest has arrived.
I know. I'm glad. This is a good surprise.
I know we have Chad Daniel, who's another colleague of ours. He's actually a close colleague of mine because we both teach theater. So
Surprise!
yeah, so we're glad to have you here with us.
Thank you
Thanks,
for
Jen.
having me. I'm so excited to eat some French food.
Yeah.
Yes. So you're going to tell us about the wine first?
Yes, let's talk about that. So we made a sauce in there, and we used this Sauvignon Blanc from the Touraine region of the Loire Valley, and that's what we're going to have with the meal. It's going to pair really nicely with our first and second course.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just make sure this is going to be good, and I'll go ahead and give Kim a portion here.
Okay. That's good.
And Chad.
Just pour away.
So let's just see. 2 seconds. I think this is going to be good. I think you'll like that.
All right.
So let me just.
Should we go ahead and try?
Yeah, you guys.
Or we'll toast first.
Yeah, let's propose a toast here.
All right.
How about great food, great friends?
Awesome. Good friend.
Santé.
Yes. Delicious.
That is good.
It's nice and crisp, and it'll go really well with this
Very
first
crispy.
course.
All right, so we have our first course, and Chad wasn't here, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, this is the avocado vinaigrette. So just a ripe avocado, and we've made this vinaigrette dressing so that the herbs, particularly the thyme from Kim's garden, is part of this, and I think the wine's going to pair really well with it. So why don't we dig in just with your spoon and have a little bite?
All right.
Have some nice French bread too for this sauce.
So there's some salsa coming out. And salsa.
It's kind of tart, but very good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the bread would be good.
Mm.
Chad, would you like some bread to go with yours?
Oh, thank you.
That's my bread, a piece of bread.
I'm already feeling more French.
Yeah. By the end of this meal,
Very French.
you're very French.
So we're going to finish up this first course, and then we're going to move on to the main course, right?
That's what we're going to do.
All right.
Mm.
Bon appetit. Well, Nick, the first course was very, very delicious.
I'm so glad.
That was yummy.
Was good. Chad, you really liked it?
I really loved it. The dressing was unbelievable.
Nice.
Yeah. So now ours our main course.
This is our main course. We're
Tell
having.
Chad a little bit about.
Yeah, so we made these chicken breasts with thyme from Kim's garden, and also with lemon juice and lemon zest. Sauteed them for a little bit, and they're going to be really good with this white wine sauce that we've made for it, and this vegetable couscous. So that's what we're gonna have.
It looks delicious. It looks like you really put a lot of time into it.
We did do that. Yeah, time and time.
Shall we dig in?
Please.
All
Bon
right.
appetit.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Merci. Merci beaucoup.
Je vous en prie. How do you guys, I'm interested in your first bite. I'm interested in what you think of your first bite.
Oh,
The
wow.
lemon,
Yeah.
right off the bat. Mm-hmm.
Taste that?
Delicious.
Well, très bien. Okay.
I will be making
Mine
this
is a
again.
carnival of flavors.
And the
Well.
couscous is a nice light pairing with
Yeah.
the chicken, so.
Mhm.
That's really good. And that's good with that sauce too.
Mhm.
That'll be good with that couscous. And
Delicious.
so will this wine.
Now, you know, Chad, you have to save room because we have an apple tart for dessert.
Oh my gosh. I'm definitely gonna save room. And even if I didn't save
We're
room,
just gonna have it.
I'm gonna eat it
All
anyway.
right, so we're gonna enjoy this, and we'll be back soon with our apple tart. Well, Nick, that chicken and the couscous, it was perfect, and it was just enough too. Didn't you think so, Chad?
Oh, it was perfect. It was the perfect
Yeah,
amount.
it didn't look like a huge amount, but it was just right. And now we have enough room for our apple tart.
Yeah, French cooking, fresh ingredients, simply prepared, not huge portions.
So-
And thank you so much for making this apple tart
Well, yes,
for us.
dessert's my favorite part.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, you made
delicious.
this, Kim?
Kim did that.
It just looks
And
delicious.
homemade crust.
I just
and-
flicked a piece of it.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Kim, that's
You might not
light.
like it.
That's light and so flavorful.
Mm.
It is light, isn't it?
It is.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
So good.
Well, this has been wonderful, and we thank you so much for tuning in and watching the show, and we look forward to making more food episodes for you.
I sure hope so.
And Chad, you can come back again too.
Oh, I would love to come
Yes,
back again.
please do,
For
please
free
do.
meal.
So until then, bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Yes, bon appetit.
Salut.
Until we see you again.
Au revoir.
Okay.
And that's that.
And that's a wrap.